right, all right, all right, all right, all right, all right. Good day, good afternoon, everybody. Happy Wednesday. Middle of the week, and everything is fine and great with myself as well as you, I hope. Thank you for tuning in to the Press and Prosperity Lunch and Learn, hosted by NABJ of Northeast Florida. And if you're not following us, please make sure you're following us on Facebook, Northeast Florida NABJ, as well as on YouTube, as well as on Instagram, where you get all the information or whatnot. We're going to do a couple announcements. Well, first off, I am the president, Wayne Peterson, also known as Mr. Al Pete. It's funny, people hear Wayne Peterson, they're like, who is Wayne Peterson? But my guest, my guest today knows all about Wayne Peterson for sure. Very good brother. But real quick, before we get into everything, I just want to read what's happening with the Press and Prosperity. This is an online dialogue on the prosperous impact on Black newspapers, pioneer TV news anchors, television shows, and social media entities that promote, produce, and disseminate news in the African diaspora. So that's what our mission is. We really want to just keep the press uplifted in our channels and just talk about the prosperity of the past, the present, and what it looks like in the future. So thank you for tuning in. And for my people that's watching the replay, feel free to hit the comments and ask questions. I'll make sure that I get them answered, as well as for our guests. If you missed the first one, we had one last Friday with Carla Michelle. It was a great conversation, but make sure you check out that replay, which is on YouTube and on Facebook, and watch that, and hopefully you get some knowledge on that. And for the people that's seeking the knowledge, we're here to give that knowledge to you. All right. So, couple announcements. Again, follow us on the socials. I want to mention the National Convention of NABJ, which is happening in August in Cleveland, Ohio, August 6th through the 10th. And if you want more information on that, that is at nabjconvention.com. So it's August 6th through the 10th in Cleveland, Ohio. I will be there. A couple of other attendees from Northeast Florida will be there. So if you would like to attend, then we plan on having a get-together up there as well. So, just a social type of action. So please make sure you go and grab those tickets, as well as those hotels. Those hotels is flying off the rack. So make sure you head over to that. Also, we will be having our local meeting on April 26th at 10 p.m. at Cafe Resistance. Shout out to Angie Nixon for letting that be the battlegrounds for us to plot and plan and empower all that stuff. So please make sure that you can come and see what we got going on. We have some things cooking up for the second quarter. Yeah, it's going to be beautiful. It's going to be beautiful, 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 beautiful. So it's April 26, 2025 at 10 p.m. at Cafe Resistance. All right. So I guess today I'm going to go ahead and bring him on the camera while we do our thing. Give me one second on that. There he is. Look at Spiffy.
Ready for notes. Ready to take notes, because you got me on my quote unquote day off, if there's even one of those. But
oh, I got you on the day off. Okay,
good. It's all good.
That's even better. I'm disturbing the peace. Listen, this guy, known him for a long time.
Okay. I was wondering what you're gonna say. How many years it is? Cause
well,
over 30.
Over 30 for sure. Over 30.
40. Yeah.
Yeah. So, this guy has known me when I was a young boy.
Back in the day,
inspiring to say it again.
A jit. That's what we called it, a jit back in the day. Jitterbug. Called a jit, young jit.
Young jit. So yeah, he know me from there. I've always looked up to my uncle, Trusky. And Rahman was in that bunch that I always admired and just loved the way he was very expressive, just the way that he walked in with extreme confidence, and just seeing him at that part was great. And then we went to school together, we was in the band together, and that carried on to that. And just his regalness with that, and then just seeing him over the years accomplish all these things that he has done, is just truly amazing. And I'm appreciative to be able to call him my brother and in this field. and just inside outside his communication stuff. So it was great to have a conversation with him. But just want to hit some points real quick. He's 20 plus. I mean, and I'm saying 20 plus, but probably more years of media work, including with Nickelodeon. He's been featured in Ebony Magazine, U.S. Today, etc. He's a radio and TV personality and author. Let's not forget that he is an author. Something that I admire that as well. Um, Oh man, he's done some great things as being a councilman District 14. I like to brag and say my councilman because he's my councilman in District 14 for sure. So one of the things that I know that the work is going down on is Old Middleburg Road. The way that thing is moving so quickly with the and it's not even interfering with traffic. It's just daily commute, and seeing him break ground on that, and that has been progressive, has been a blessing to see. I saw a video when I was doing my research. Rahman putting up houses and everything, man. So Rahman is in the community, man, doing a lot of things. Two of the things that I want to say that he passed legislations on was like the Ray Charles Street that was on Church Street, correct?
Correct.
And the most recent one with Johnny May, is it Chappelle? I'm saying that correct?
Yes.
Johnny May Chappelle, the historical mark that's on the north side, with the help of his other councilmen, but Rahman definitely is a full part of that. Another thing that I thought was great, the Senior Tech Boot Camp with the Jazz Foundation. I was able to DJ for that. For him to put that together was beautiful. And these things that I'm mentioning are just a very drop in the bucket of all the things that he has done inside and outside of his work as a councilman. He is a PhD holder at Jackson State, from Jackson State, an alum from Edward Waters, definitely an alum from Reebok Senior High. Go Trojans! We promote them Trojans over here. And one thing that I would like, I'm going to mention, he is a member of the Kappa Alpha Psi.
There's so much in that, and I'm sure we'll talk about it. But there's so much in that.
Yeah, but nevertheless, even with that, I love the fact that we are in this D9 mission together as well. Even though I am Alpha Phi Alpha and he's Kappa Alpha Psi, it doesn't matter. At the end of the day, the missions are very important. So it's very honorable to mention that he is part of that Divine Nine group, and we definitely respect it over here. So without further ado, we have Dr. Rahman Johnson. What's up, my brother? How are you feeling?
I love you, and I mean that. We have to do more public saying of that as Black men, especially, but men, period. I appreciate you. I love you. And yes, we are in different fraternities, but when you made the move, I believe I was one of the first, if not the first, outside of your family and that group that congratulated you and welcomed you into the D9, because at the end of the day, it's not just about the letters we wear, but it's about the work that we do. And I know, regardless of whether it's iota or sigma or omega or alpha or kappa, any of those organizations, I know what you put in to get there. And while we will enjoy some wonderful, good natured ribbing, as I always do every event we go to, every time I see you, I know the great work of Alpha Phi Alpha. I was honored to be able to co sponsor legislation to give Alpha Phi Alpha funds to continue its mission in the community, as we did with all of the other organizations. So I'm glad you brought that up. And even though it's our differences that make us, that give us something to have fun about, it's our similarities that pull us together and allow us to be the change we want to see. So thank you for that.
No problem, man, and thank you. And yes, you were the first person outside of family that did call me and welcome me greatly into it, man, and that meant a lot. Even just having those conversations with you, just inside and outside the work that we do, I just appreciate our friendship, man, and I just appreciate you. And even from looking from afar, just seeing all the great stuff you're doing in Jacksonville. And I won't get too deep into it, but I just remember before when the councilman conversation was being had and the conversations that we was having with that man, and
Yes,
I was very honored that you was
I
having
called
those
you first.
conversations with
You're one of the
me.
first people I called. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So thank you, man. Thank you for that.
And
So
it
let's get
certainly
into.
wasn't. And I'll tell you, if I may, real quick, when I decided to run, as you know, I spent years as an anchor reporter and an actor and doing all the other things. But the district that we live in is not the district that is most conducive to us being, or to somebody that looks like me or that has a party affiliation like I do, being on the city council. So obviously, you living in the district, but also being my friend since we were in Mr. Bug's band at Reebok
Yeah.
back in high school. We've known each other. I know your grandparents. I know your parents. I know your uncle. You know, you said you looked up to Trusky. I looked up to Trusky. Like, I wanted to be Trusky. Like, I had the conversation with him this weekend, the past weekend. How much I admired his authenticity and his movement, and I believe that it inspired a lot of what I saw in who I became. But it allowed me to move things forward in a way that I had not anticipated. Um, but I certainly, when I looked at the possibility of running for an office that had never been held by an African American, never been held by a Democrat, something different, people had to be. I'm working on my second book right now. My first book, thank you, Lord, was award winning and got a lot of best selling, buzz across the country. The second book I'm working on right now is called 71 Days. I'll be writing some more on it this afternoon. And the reason why it's called that is because it was 71 days, if you can imagine that, from the day that my seat was created by a judicial decision until the day that I won that seat. And in that 71 days, we had to raise money, educate the electorate, educate people on where the district now was, reformat how people thought about the district and what we did. And so for us to be able to do that in 71 days, I believe it's in no secret to the journalistic chops I honed being in newsrooms, being at Edward Waters and Seton Hall and Jackson State and all those other wonderful places. But it was a perfect storm that allowed me to represent Jacksonville in a way that our district had never been represented before.
Indeed, indeed. And I want to get more into the journalistic match with the political aspect of it, just so people can get an understanding of it. But let's start from the root of things, man. What got you into the communications field? And let me go back on that. We have to say that he is, a professor, like a respected professor, has taught this work. So let's add that on with all the other things that's been going on. But let's talk about what got you into it. What was that one spark that brought you into the world of media communications? What was it?
So here's the thing. I'm also an actor, right? And when I say
Okay.
an actor, I don't mean just like, yeah, I go outside and be like, la, la, la. Not that there's anything wrong with that, or community theater, any of that stuff. But I am also, I guess, can you change this camera? I think we're dealing with some camera
Oh
stuff.
Lord.
I don't know what happened with the camera. Yeah, I think
There we go. There we go.
are we good?
Yeah, I think the AI on.
The AI, I think, can you pull my camera off? Leave my audio up, pull my camera off. That should reset it. See, this is what happens, everybody, when you do live TV.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
weird.
Yeah, it's very weird. It's like a crotch shot. Okay, hold on, which is funny. All right, so I think I'm gonna turn the camera off and then
Okay.
reset it, and I think we should be good because I'm not in my office today. I am in my. I decided to take it because this is my off day. You know, you on my off day, right?
Yes, sir.
All right, so
I
all right,
appreciate
you're
your
on my
off day.
off day, but here I am. Are we good now?
Yep.
All right. So, to answer your question, one of the things I think is most important for me is I'm a storyteller, right? As I look at who I am and what I did and who I am as a person, I'm a storyteller. And so, being a storyteller, I'm a SAG after equity actor, right? I've been on TV and film, and so I'm a union actor. I think I read a book once called A New Earth by Eckhart Tolle, and one of the main things that I learned in reading that book is I wanted to do it's awakening to your life's purpose. So the question became, what is the purpose? Like, who am I supposed to be? Why am I here? And it's to be a storyteller, to learn how to do things right and share it, and to also learn how not to do things and share that as well. And
Mhm.
so I can do that on stage and TV and film and in classrooms and now on the city council. And I think that's a game changer. And I use the word game changer because it's all in so many ways a game. From Paul Laurence Dunbar to William Shakespeare, they always talked about life being a stage and a game. So how do we change the game is the question, because the more we evolve, the more the game evolves, and so we have to be able to evolve with it. So I've always felt like I was a communicator from a young child. There was an aspect of I'm supposed to be communicating. Now, what does that look like? What does that mean? I didn't know what it was to be an anchor reporter. I did not know that I would go into understanding the principles, nuances, and concepts of journalism and to put those things out there. But I knew I wanted to communicate, not because I wanted people to look at me. I think the hardest thing in the world is telling my story. What I enjoy most is telling others' stories. When I can speak about others or speak to the best of our community or the best of our society, that's when I'm happiest, because I like to look at the stories that are out there and create them, which is why being an actor was such a great opportunity for me, because it allowed me to become the worst of us and the best of us and pass those lessons along. So that's what inspired me to really be a communicator and to look at stories. And I find life so fascinating. I almost look at life. I remember, I love to travel and I travel all the time. And one of my favorite cities in the US is New Orleans, and or Nolans, as it's supposed
Nowlands,
to be called.
Nowlands.
Nolans, yeah, yeah. I know when NABJ was there, I was like, okay, how many workshops can I attend? But I got to get back to doing New Orleans and going somewhere I've never been before, exploring the graveyards or whatever the case may be. But I remember sitting in Café du Monde, and as you know, I speak decent French and Creole, and Du Monde is the world, right? Cafe of the world, Café du Monde, and I love sitting at Café du Monde with beignets and coffee
Mm,
and watching the world. Like,
mhm.
there can be no greater thing than to see these stories walking by you. And even though you may not know the reality of the story, the beauty is if you look closely, you'll see the story. Remember, Maya Angelou said, when people who show you who they are, believe them the first time. And
Mhm.
so I look at people watching as a way of interpreting those stories and intuiting those stories and finding out the stories that bless our lives, because that's what humanity has been about since the beginning of time. Think about it. We look back and we see the writings on the walls and the pictures on the walls. Those are stories that were being told about that time. And so I look at ours, Wayne, as a noble profession, because we are the keepers of the stories, which means we keep humanity alive.
And where does this spirit come from? Like it takes a really good person. I'm gonna say good. I think good is an understatement. Trying to think of a word for it, but what it takes the right person to have that type of spirit to be able to communicate for one. Because and we might be biased on this, y'all, but being a great communicator is like top notch. Like I feel like if you're a great communicator, it can open up a lot of doors. It can send a lot of great messages. We're the keepers of like you said, humanity. But somebody that has like a very rich spirit like yours, like where does that come from? Does that come
It's
from
interesting.
trials and tribulations, or does that come from family?
All of the above. I mean, I now know, my mother was a wonderful historian, Ida Ross Johnson, who I speak her name because that means she lives still.
For
And
sure.
I can tell you that my mom had her big thing was history. She was a speech pathologist and audiologist for a career. She spent 40, I think 46, 47 years in Duval County Public Schools. She went into private practice. She passed away a few years ago, but was a brilliant. And in fact, I've won awards for my acting. I know my mother was a world class actor, so much better than I. Right? You ain't seen Macbeth until you seen Ida Ross Johnson say, "Out damn spot, out I say." When
Hmm.
I saw my mother become Lady Macbeth in that scene in Shakespeare where the Lady Macbeth realizes what she's done and she's moving back and forth in between. And there, I just hit the AI again because I'm always talking with my hands. Am I good on camera?
No, you good. You good. It just gonna
But when
move every time you move your hands.
every time, right, right. So I'm trying not to move much. But my mom, when she would say, when she did that thing, and I saw it, and I saw her become Lady Macbeth, I was mesmerized. And so, Mom was my scene partner, and she helped me to find the space of telling stories. So um, obviously, it came from her. My mother was very elegant, sophisticated, kind of laid back, classic. My dad was a lot more gregarious, and so I took probably some of those things. Not probably. I mean, it's God doesn't make mistakes, right? He creates. God, and I say this, which I'll probably get some flack for, but I'm in love with God, and she loves me right back, right? So God's whoever I need God to be, whether it be he or she or whatever. God is greater than all of us, and I'm so just wonder. It's a wonder that we're in this space where this omnipotent, omniscient, omnipresent being, as great as God is, creates the we that we are for what's needed. And that's, I can't even wrap my mind around it, but I'm glad that I'm a part of the plan. And that's something that is insurmountable, that with all that creation is created, God loves me. And so I believe that, to answer the question, where does it come from? It comes from something much greater than me.
Mm.
Because how can a little girl, I do not know her name, we don't know her name, because they didn't keep slave records or the enslaved records of names at that time. But I am the great, 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 great grandson of a slave girl in Virginia. And to now hold a piece of education that only 1% of the population of the world holds, and to be in a space where, in this city, only a generation ago, my mother, the very building where my office is, my mother had to go in the back door at night to buy her dresses. My grandmother would take her in the back door at night to buy her dresses. They couldn't come in during the daytime, or at the front door, certainly not. And now I walk in that building, that same building, and they say, "Good morning, Dr. Johnson." That's not, I don't take it lightly, this experience that I'm in. And so it is an awesome responsibility, that I wear that mantle every day. So I don't know where it comes from, but in the same speak, we know where it comes from, which is why we have an awesome responsibility that every day that we communicate and share, we have to step it up, and we have to be greater than, even if those around us sometimes, and Lord knows I can tell you some stories being on the city council now,
Right.
even if those around us are lesser than, or playing a game that has nothing to do with speaking to the best of us. um, when we are anointed with greatness, and I'm not saying that I am, but I'm saying when we know that our purpose is bigger, pettiness, and I can be King Petty. I asked my students when I was at Edward Waters, I can be King Petty, but I'm petty funny, not petty in a way of resentfulness or hurtfulness or any of those. I want us to be able to laugh at ourselves so that we can be our best selves.
I love it, man. Very, very great, inspiring story. And I meant to ask this question the first one. This should be the first question I always ask, that I like to ask. Um, what do you think about when somebody says press and prosperity? But I feel like you gave a great prosperity example just a few minutes ago. I mean, just for us talking on this time that we've been talking now, I think you gave a great example of that. But what are your first thoughts on that? Like when somebody
Well,
says
first of
press and
all, as a
prosperity.
former, I got where I am because of NABJ, and because of not just our chapter here. We started out as the Jacksonville chapter of NABJ. Then it became the First Coast Black Communicators Alliance. I'm taking you back to the '80s now. I was a kid, and I was going to these meetings. Victor Andino, Alanis Sandino, Jamie Bradford, God rest her soul. Um, oh gosh, there were so many of us. Orlando DeBruce, Brian Daniels. I can go down, and yes, okay, he's an alpha. I know you're gonna laugh, but yes, he's an alpha. But there were so many great journalists. Joyce Morgan, who I was mentored by before I became an anchor. All of these people were part of our local chapter, and then it went away for quite a while. And when it returned, thank you, Lynn Jones, who made sure that we put our money and our time and effort together to bring us together. And now we are the Northeast Florida chapter of NABJ. I've been there through all of those iterations. And I will tell you that if we have a free press, we have prosperity. Our job is not to tell people what to do. It's to provide the information so they can do what's best for them. And so that's what Press and Prosperity is all about. It should be about opening the doors so people feel comfortable in sharing, in providing, in understanding, but in most importantly being informed. Because if you that's one of the reasons people thought, you remember in slavery, and not that we know, but we can look back on historical records. In slavery, they did not want the enslaved to read. They did not want the enslaved to write. They did not want the enslaved to see the Bible for what it was, and other holy books or any writings, period, right? Because we've heard the saying before, people perish for lack of knowledge. So if we can open the mind, right, that's all that we need to do. Not tell people how to think, not push their thinking, just provide the opportunity. It's a game changer. And so that's what I think Press and Prosperity is about. And one of the reasons why I've also pushed in making sure that I'm working with you and NABJ as a whole to put together a series of workshops around the city, not just for Black people. Yes, this is NABJ, but as you know, every 4 years we meet with NAHJ, Hispanic journalists,
Mhm.
NIJ, which is Native American journalists.
Yeah.
There's another group that we affinity groups, so we all meet together for all of the journalists. We come together once every 4 years. And so and we do that because it's important to make sure we're sharing best practices and knowledge and the things that are necessary for us and those what are called minority, but I call them affinity groups, so that we can inform people. And so I'm working with you on putting together a series of workshops that are for the community as a whole to empower them, to ensure that when there's a land use and zoning decision, protesting after the vote has been taken may not be the best idea. But if you're
Hmm.
constantly informing yourself, you're there so that you can make sure that your voice is heard during the vote. And that's what the press is doing. And so that's what I want to be able to do for everybody, but specifically through NABJ.
Indeed, and I appreciate that gesture for sure, and we're definitely working on that. So please, y'all, make sure that y'all stay tuned in to Dr. Rahman Johnson when he makes the announcement, as well as NABJ, the Northeast Florida chapter, when we make that announcement of those series of workshops, so we can make sure that everybody is making it happen. So real quick, just do a quick reset. We're here with Dr. Rahman Johnson, Councilman, District 14. Very great guy. The comments are going crazy over here.
Really, I was trying to see them if I saw any questions I need to answer. I'm
Well,
certainly
yeah. Well, I wanted to tell people that if you have questions or whatnot, please put them in the chat, and we'll get to them. We'll have a Q&A towards the end of this series. But I appreciate everybody. Please make sure you share it with your folks. Get more people in while we had this conversation. If you missed the first part of it, no, don't fret. It's going to be on the Facebook page as well as on our YouTube page, so you can watch it back and all that great stuff. But yeah, and Kim said, shout out to Kim Wallace. She said, I am glad I caught this live. Go through some comments real quick.
okay.
Um, Tango Jordan said, excellent. Thank you, Councilman. Let's see. Let me get one more. One more. What Kim said, knowledge is power. Knowledge cannot be taken away. So,
Amen. Amen.
yeah. So, yeah, like if y'all have any questions, please feel free to put them in the chat and we'll make sure we get those answered. If we don't get them answered, we will definitely come back and do that. So,
And I
um,
promise you, if you give me the questions, I'll make sure I either get them written, packaged in a way where you can post it or whatever. So yeah, if we can't get to all the questions today, still ask the questions. I'll get it back to you, Wayne.
Definitely, definitely, definitely. So, I'm going to ask a question that might seem kind of naive to ask, but could you explain to us what a councilman does?
Aha.
I feel like a lot of
Every
people don't know what a councilman does. So,
I'm a lot of people because every day is not the same thing. Let me tell you, I'm a lot of people. Um, it's different. It changes. I've known members of council since my mother and Warren Jones, he's the longest serving council member in the history of the city of Jacksonville, who spent 30 years on the council, but 50 years, I think, total in elected office, almost 50 years. Um, it's not the same as when Warren was in office.
Hmm.
It's not the same as when I was on Soil and Water. Things are different. It's way different now. So let me tell you, our job, the city of Jacksonville was consolidated back in 1968. It was just Duval County, as most counties are, and then the city of Jacksonville. The county, the city was kind of downtown La Villa, kind of core centric,
Hmm.
and they expanded it with that consolidation in 1968. We became the largest city in land space in the continental United States. There are roughly about 875 square miles to this city, which means we big. Okay, we are big, big, big. The city has continually grown. There are certain mandates that are put on us by the state and federal government on how to operate a city and how to create and bring in taxpayer dollars. But I can simplify it for you. Our budget annually is about $2 billion and growing because our city's growing. And the thing is, I heard one of my colleagues on council, Dr. Ron Salem, who is currently the finance chair, said that the executive branch proposes and we dispose. And that's kind of the easiest way to put it, meaning we decide what money is spent where and how. The executive branch, we're really set up like a mini government, and we are the government. The executive branch um, proposes or makes ideas. We come up and create the laws that govern how the city works. And of course, the judicial branch interprets the law. The judicial branch, headed by, on our side, the chief judge, but most importantly, on a day to day basis, the general counsel, who interprets these laws and makes binding legal opinions, the mayor, who is over the executive branch of government executing the law, and of course, the city council, which is the branch I'm in, creating those laws. Now, the question is, what do we do every day? Every day is different. Every day.
Right.
My office is, and here's the thing. Remember, I told you we consolidated back in 1968. So, besides being a city council member, I'm also a county commissioner, which means there are decisions that are made on a regular basis that deal with county specific issues that I have to deal with. We're unlike most city governments or councils because we have 19 members, 14 districts, and 5 at-large council members, which were the 14 districts of the city of Jacksonville and the 5 county commissioners of Duval County now operate as one body. Any law that's made, any funds that are spent, any of those things come through the city council. So the way the line of succession works, the mayor, of course, is the chief executive, but second in the line of succession is the city council president. So I tell you that to say the council's job is obviously equal to the executive and judicial branches of government, separate but equal. However, the council's job is so ultimately important because they determine how the funds are spent in the city. Now, can me as one council member make that decision? Absolutely not. So it's quite interesting when I see people come and they're like, oh, well, you can do this or you can do that. Um, we had some kids come talking about the AP ACE and IB programming that's being deleted from the Florida legislature.
Hmm.
And one of the young people that came in the rules committee said in his zealousness, if you Jacksonville City Council members will tell the legislature, they'll change their decision. And in my mind, I smiled and I said, I only wish that we had that much power to really make things happen, that quickly. But we do have when we have 10 votes of a council, which it takes 10 votes to get anything moved. That's just a simple majority. When we have that, we can change so much. And we've seen it happen. And I push the envelope on a lot. And I think that's how change happens, not doing the same thing over and over. So to answer your question, um, what does the council person do every day? Everything. Um, we meet, the council itself meets twice a month. We meet on the second and fourth Tuesdays at 5 o'clock in the Grand Council Chamber in downtown at the City Hall at St. James. And then we meet on the first and third Mondays and Tuesdays for committee meetings. I sit on, there are 5 standing committees. I believe the 3 of the most significant committees on the council are finance, rules, and land use and zoning. And I sit on 2 of the 3 of those. I sit on the rules committee and the land use and zoning committee.
Indeed. Thank you for that breakdown. Again, a lot of people, I found out a lot of people don't understand what a councilman does. And I even say this. I remember going to, what was it called? It was the thing that we had at the library on Old Middleburg. What was that meeting called? It was just like
Town
a
hall meeting.
town hall
Town
meeting.
hall
Yeah.
meeting.
So I went to that town hall meeting, and I know my due diligence of what a councilman does, but seeing you in action in that particular thing, because it was a town hall meeting, and just to give y'all some context, it was they're building a liquor store or Old Middle.
Yeah, that one.
Oh yeah, on the corner of Old Middleburg and Collins, and it was a bit of outrage or whatnot. Not want to say outrage. I don't want to kill it like that, but it was a
Oh no, it was outrage. You
well,
just
it was
call it what it
outrage
is.
from it was outrage
Absolutely.
from the community. Well, from the community, yeah. So that's okay. Outrage. We'll leave it like that. But nevertheless, I went to the town hall meeting, and the way that Rodman conducted it, and this is me not being biased. I would just I've been to a couple of them, but in the state that I'm in right now, my mindset, the things I've learned from my career as well as just personal stuff, just to see Rodman in that position, I'm like, man, I can imagine a lot of people don't really know what he has to deal with. And you had three other people that were like, you had like a lawyer in there, right, to like make
The
sure
city
that
government. I had the public works people. I had an attorney from the Office of General Counsel. I had traffic engineering, like all of the
yeah,
people.
all of them in the same in
Yeah,
the
and
same
so
room, and I understood it because I'm like, it makes sense for all these people to be here to make sure that everybody
it
kind of
wasn't easy,
coincides
by
with
the
each
way.
other.
Not
Say it
easy.
again.
Not easy, by the way.
Not
Right?
easy, not easy at
To
all, not
pull
easy at
everybody
all.
to get everybody there at the same time, at the same spot, and coordinating my office and the other offices. And um, there is no set fast rule book on how to do this experience. I can't call it a job because it's not that. Technically, it's supposed to be a part-time job. So I laugh when people say, "Oh, I pay your salary." You can't afford me. That's what I say. I jokingly say, I'll say it because I've told her this in public, and so I don't feel uncomfortable calling it out. I love Miss Eunice Barnum. She lives in Sherwood, and she is wants to say quite often, "I pay your salary. I pay for you." It's like, Miss Barnum, you can't afford me. Understand that. I do this because I love this city. I love my community. Jacksonville has given me so much. And this is another way that I can give back to Jacksonville by being that. But I'll tell you, there is no rule book. And if there was one, by the time the rule is written, it's reformed.
It's about to be changed. Yeah,
It's reformed. It's changed. So I think it's the same thing. When what I've learned in this industry, I was telling somebody what I thought about acting. One of my dear friends is a producer and director, and we're talking about doing a project here in Jacksonville. And so we were talking about acting. And when I kind of hit my stride as an actor and as an anchor and a reporter and those things, I think it all converged because you can be as talented as the world and you can be as knowledgeable in all of those things. But unless you have the confidence to say, I'm going to try to do the thing, it doesn't happen.
hmm
Right. I believe the place that has the most wealth in it is not Fort Knox, is not Fort or some bank or gold reserve. I think the wealthiest place in the world is the cemetery.
mm.
And that's because so many people died with dreams that weren't realized, right? That people didn't have. Is Denzel Washington the best actor on the planet? Maybe now, but he had the courage to step forward and say, "I'm gonna try this," and did it. But there's some performer somewhere that said, "Yeah, I don't know if they're gonna like me or not," who is amazing and didn't take that to the next level. So I think part of it is having the confidence to say, "I'm gonna try," and this is what's most important: fall flat on your face.
Mm.
Right? I'm the as you know, I'm the first one to laugh at myself. I'm the first one to not only be self-deprecating, but to also be in that space of saying, I don't know and I want to learn.
hmm
And so that's what makes this experience. So yeah, the town hall meeting in that way you saw it. There's no rhyme or reason. Every town hall meeting I've done, and I've done 30 or more since I've been in office, and going on more because I'm doing them regularly. All of those meetings, whether they be digitally, whether they be in person, whether they be one-on-one meetings, every meeting is different,
Mhm.
right? So I can't go in there saying, here is this rigid way of behaving, or I'm the councilman, you do what I say. No, I have to go in open and willing to listen and learn, because where the city is 875 square miles, my district alone is 100 square miles plus. There's no way humanly possible I can know every nuance of my district. But what I
Mhm.
can do is make sure that I'm listening to those people who are in those areas that I can't get to all the time, and be able to amplify their voice. And that's what I think makes me effective in what we're doing together on the city council.
Indeed. Beautiful words, beautiful words. We got a couple questions in here. I'm gonna get into it, but I want to ask this question while it's in my head. So,
Sure.
um, the listening aspect of you being in your position as councilman, that definitely plays a role of as a communicator. But I think about forward thinking as well. Like as communicators, we have to have that muscle of being forward thinking.
Yeah,
Talk about using that side of your brain or that trait or whatnot when it comes to specifically doing things for the councilman. I know you say you don't, every day is different,
every day.
but you still have to like implement some type of forward thinking with a lot of these things, and sometimes you don't even
Absolutely.
see it.
Absolutely. We do, society tells us to do what's comfortable, right? We
Mhm.
do. We do what's comfortable. We get in. That's why during our parents' tenure of living and working, they got in a job, they stayed for 30, 40 years, they got a gold watch, they sat down, they retired, and then they died, right?
Mhm.
Some of them pushed past that, but that's what their parents told them they had to do.
Mhm.
In order to raise a family or be the best that they had to do, they had to go into that kind of spot. Um, for me, what my kind of philosophy and way of being is let's get all the data, right? And it's increased, even though as a journalist, I'm always wanting to get information. As a researcher, I look at it as now data. So I want to pull in all the data I can before coming up with some kind of thought as to what should, could, or possibly work. And so, for me, innovation has always been a word that's been forward, like as you say, forward thinking. That's always been a word that's been at the forefront of who I am and what I do.
Right.
I've always strived in, Colin Powell had this wonderful group of rules called Colin Powell's Rules for Success. And he said, do a common thing in an uncommon way. And I strive to do that daily. So, yeah, build the common thing is building a park, right? I got a couple parks going up in my district. But why would I build a park the same way somebody built the park 20 years ago? Let's do something different, but let's first listen. So I don't come in saying, well, here's what you should do. I think it's important for me to come up with a framework and
Mhm.
give us something um, to start from. But it's almost like when I was working on my dissertation, one of my dear friends and fraternity brothers, Herman Felton, he's the president of Wiley College in Texas, and I'm sure he would be okay with me saying this. Um, when I started working on my dissertation and doing the research, my research is on HBCU presidencies and what we need to do. And in essence, talking about HBCU presidencies, my research in essence was about leadership.
Mhm.
And when I talked to Herman and I was working on my dissertation, one of the things he shared with me is, number one, this dissertation is not yours. You do the research, you write it, but it belongs to your committee.
Yep.
So you gather the details, you let it go. You will change the world. You will not change the world through writing this one dissertation. When I understood that principle, I was able to then do the research and release it. And I think that's been a very big help for me on council, because I my way of categorizing information is research. I write a paper, I bullet point it out, I look at it, I outline it, I pull it all in, but I can't be so locked in to, well, this is what I found and this is how it should be, where I'm not open to change. We cannot be um, so focused and so stoic in one way of thinking or being that change can't happen. And I think that process came about even more so, not only as a college professor, and being flexible, but also as a student working on my dissertation. So it got me to that place of saying we got to consistently look at everything that's out there, listen to it, and be willing to change. Right? I couldn't go when my professors came to me and they said, "This is a change that we recommend you make." These people have had doctorates much longer than I have.
Mhm.
And in some ways, I'm like, well, wait a minute. I discovered this and I saw this in my research, and some things you hold to. But I had to step back and say, what is it that they see that I don't see? And that's what we have to always do. And I do that regularly. What is it that someone else sees? You are my mirror, whether it be on the council or in life or even as an actor, you know, with performances. You're the mirror. So I can give the greatest performance in the world, or so I think. But if I'm not looking at the feedback that my director or my scene partner or others are giving me, it ain't worth the hill of beans.
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. All right, real quick to do a quick reset. We are here with Dr. Rahman Johnson, District 14 Councilman. This is for Press and Prosperity. Please make sure you follow on all the channels, the NABJ Northeast Florida on YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram. Keep the questions coming in. We're coming up on the last like 10, 15 minutes or so because I don't want to hold him too long on his off day. I want to make sure that he's doing, getting
You
to
got
that
me.
book.
This is for us. You got me as long as you need me. If the questions are here, I'll stay as long as I can. But yeah, let's not, especially, we don't have to worry about time, man. You got me, brother.
Okay. So we'll have a couple questions. Let's see. This first one. Do you sometimes find yourself being called out for not being for the people due to the unknown politics within politics? How do you
Absolutely.
contend with those feelings?
So I'm a meditator. I start my day. I was telling friends, colleagues, even my staff, in the office. I start my day in meditation. My belief is that prayer is my conversation with God, but meditation is when God has the space to speak back to me because I can't hear you when I'm talking, right? So I start out my day in prayer, in gratitude, right? It's the first thing I do when I wake up. I do not grab my phone. I do not go to social media. I do not
Mhm.
turn on the TV. And I'll give you my morning, and it's gonna inform that question. But I start in prayer, in gratitude for being able to breathe and see and feel. Those who know me know that I've been on this fitness journey now for about 25, going on 26 years. And so even before I go to the gym, which is a big part of my life, I pray, and then I go into my meditative space, right? And meditation at least 20 minutes. And what I've heard from the gurus and the great masters that if, some people say, "Oh, I got so much to do and I don't have time to meditate for 20 minutes." If you don't have 20 minutes to do it, you probably need 2 hours, which means get your life right, right? So I'm in meditation, and I find a way to be in joy in myself, right? Finding the joy within, which
Right.
means, yeah, people are going to criticize. People criticized me when I was on Nickelodeon. I wasn't black enough for some. I wasn't white enough for others. I was too colloquial. Sometimes I will code switch and I'll go into things that's just authentically who I am. And if I sat around and wondered and was upset about some people who say that, well, why do you code switch, or why do you do this, or why do you do that? If I had to answer every one of those things, I couldn't do the job that I'm doing. So how do I deal with it? I do the best I can. As you can tell, I read a lot. I talk about books because I read. You can see behind me, I read all the time. Like literally, I make time in my week to just sit and read, like to touch a book. Yeah, I got a Kindle and I look through the electronic books, but it's something about putting your hands on a page and flipping that page.
Yeah.
Something about that that's just exciting. And I'll get a cup of tea and I'll sit and read. And so the thing I think that is in that I learned there's a book from Don Miguel Ruiz, and the book is called The Four Agreements. And then there's a follow up he wrote with his son, Jose Ruiz, called The Fifth Agreement. But the agreements are so simple. It's ancient Toltec wisdom. So if you can't get a chance, grab the book. But one of the things that's most key to me is always do your best. That's it. It's so simple. And so people are going to talk about that. I was criticized for votes I've taken. I've been criticized on both sides of the aisle. I've been criticized by, black folk, white folk, candy stripe folk. I've been criticized, but I've also been thanked. I'll tell you, it's so interesting, Wayne, when I was first elected, you weren't at my first town hall meeting. So I had just gotten elected July of 2023. And my first thing to do was like, oh, I want to talk to the community. They just elected me because I won this seat by 6 points. And it was a huge victory because no one thought I could do it. I was getting people from all walks of life who were friends on both sides of the aisle saying, there's no way you're going to be able to win this district. And I was like, okay, gotcha. We're going to see about that. And so I won the district, won by 6 points. And I go to this community meeting at the same library, Argyle Forest Library, and man, they yelled at me, they screamed, and we were talking about Old Middleburg Road getting paved.
Mm.
People have been paying the Better Jacksonville tax since 1999, and they have been promised a paved Old Middleburg Road since 1999. At the time, it was 2023, and there was still no Old Middleburg Road that was widened and paved and beautiful. And so here I go with my brand new elected self out to the library saying, "Ooh, I'm new. I'm here." I'm all excited and everything. And I get there and man, they were like,
They eat
"How
you
dare
up.
you? And it's your fault." And we haven't been. I'm like, "Ma'am, I've been in office 7 minutes, like literally 7 minutes." And I get out here and I've got my little comment cards and all my little stuff. And it was supposed to be just us showing what the plans were for Old Middleburg Road widening. So it was not meant to be a sit down meeting. So as such, there were just renderings around the room and no chairs. 100 people packed this little tiny room and all directed their ear toward me,
Mm.
yelling and screaming and saying, the city doesn't listen and it's my fault. Now, I could have responded back and blamed other people, but I kind of took it from Barack Obama. And I remember when he was in office, and he said because he was in the space, he took responsibility.
Mhm.
And when you take responsibility, even if someone else created the problem, it allows you to have the power to fix it.
Mm.
And that's what I did. So, no, I'm not going to live in the space of someone criticizing me. Yes, be critical of me. I am not a perfect person, the perfect person. I may say something wrong. I may misspeak. I may find research that I need to reevaluate later. I may even get angry. But at the end of the day, I'm a human, but I believe the cognitive reasoning ability that's inside of me allows me to look at it, reformat it, and do the work. And that's what I did. And because I'm in this space, I don't have the luxury to be angry. I don't have the luxury. One of my colleagues asked me, why aren't you angrier with things that have happened in the past? You talked about Johnny May Chappelle. Um, it was very difficult for me to work through that Johnny May Chappelle piece. Many people didn't even know her story. What's the story my grandmother told me decades ago? But it sat in my mind for just a time such as this. So I couldn't focus on what happened to Johnny May Chappelle in a negative way. What I could do, however, was find peace from the broken pieces. And that's what I strive to do in every action I take while I'm on this council.
Good words, good words. Speaking of good words, I'm gonna share another comment. Let's see. Robin is not your traditional councilman. He is a councilman for the entire city. He cares all about all of Jacksonville and just not the area he officially represents. Thank you for being an amazing councilman in person. That's from Bruce Robinson.
Thank you.
Very great words. Very great words. I'm telling you, when I saw that video when you was building a house, I was like, "Well, what he building houses at around here?" But you was in Arlington.
So, and let me tell you what's interesting about that. Remember I said earlier about Café du Monde, and like I said, my first second language is French. And I always in my mind, I say something in my head, citoyen du monde, citoyen du monde. And in French, that simply means citizen of the world.
Mm,
Citoyen du monde. And I look at myself, je suis un citoyen du monde, which means I am a citizen of the world. Um, just like in Jacksonville, I am not just a citizen of the West Side. I am a citizen of this community. But more so having lived in other countries and other spaces and places and traveled because of being a storyteller, um, I've been able to learn things and see things that I hope that I bring back here to be a change agent for what's here, right?
Right.
So as a citizen of the world, what you didn't see about that video, which was, man, it almost brought tears in my eyes because I didn't get it until I just went live, Wayne. I didn't go live. I'll tell you why I go live, why I went live there. I don't get a chance to go live as often as I have. I plan to do it more. And I've even tossed around. I was talking to a friend of mine the other day. Um, I'm a little bit different than most of the council members, and I'm a little, sort of slightly eclectic, call it what you will. Um, but we talked about doing so. A friend of mine was saying, you need to do a reality show because people need to know what behind the scenes. Because behind the scenes, it be that bull. Okay. You know what I'm saying? So doing a reality show, I thought about it, and I think it might be fun to just call it The Council, right? And come up with a reality show. So that may happen. But I'll tell you what was most touching to me is I didn't see this until I went live because I wanted other people to get involved with Habitat for Humanity, i.e., Habijacks, and I wanted them to build houses and donate. I'm doing a project in my district that we'll be breaking ground on soon, where Habijacks will be putting in houses with a price tag of 220. We're talking new builds at 220. You can't find it anywhere. Thank you, Habijacks. Thank you, City of Jacksonville, and most definitely thank you, Alex Safakis with JWB. But we're doing this project because of a public-private government partnership. And I came up with the idea, and I'm doing it because I believe if we do this one development in community, it's the start of so many more when people can see what we can do when we work together. But I'll tell you, when I saw that video of Happy Jackson, we were building that house, I want to say on like East 28th Street, somewhere in that area. We were building 4 houses together in a row. So here I am, and I had to give a speech later that day, but I wasn't thinking about that. Where I am is where I'm supposed to be, and I'm present. And I'm building a house, hammer nails, doing my thing out there, hanging with the fellas and the ladies, and we're putting up walls, literally.
Mm.
And I didn't tell anybody I was going, and I purposefully made sure that I avoided being there when the news media was there because I wasn't there to let somebody see me build a house. I was there to build a house,
Right.
right? And to learn in the process. And so I'm building houses and putting up walls. But one of the guys who was helping to build the house was from El Salvador. I think he said he was El Salvadorian. And here I am. I went live. I'm trying to figure out what I need to do to move into the next step of what wood piece goes where and how to put the wall up. So I asked the guy, and he's like, no, no English, no. I saw myself, and I didn't know that I did this until afterward, man. Switch from Spanish or from English to Spanish. And I connected with him and started speaking Spanish. I said, hey, what's your name? All right, great. Nice to meet you. Where you from? Oh, okay. Now, where does this board go? Do I put this here and how does this work? Right? I didn't even realize it until afterward. And I saw the live. Here I am just standing there as if it were me talking to somebody I've known all my life, like you, in his native tongue, and it made him feel seen and heard, especially in light of a lot of the rhetoric that we hear in our community. He gave me a hug before I left and said, gracias, bueno trabajo, yeah. He was like, good job, bueno trabajo, and he gave me a hug, and it was deeper than just me building a house. For him, he was seen and heard in a place where people are telling him regularly that you're not seen and heard.
Right.
And yeah, it was a job for him. But as I spoke to him, he knew why we were building this house. And he was excited to be a part of this change to give someone somewhere to live. And so, man, that moment for me, it wasn't just about building houses. But as I looked back on it, it was connecting community. And that's what's so important.
Indeed. Love it. Absolutely love it. Let's see. We're gonna have one more question, and then after that, we're gonna get into some fun stuff, and then you
Yes,
make an
I like the
announcement.
fun stuff. Not that this is not fun, but go ahead. Go ahead. What you got?
Yeah. And then after that, we're gonna you have an announcement. All right. What has been your biggest hurdles breaking into the media industry, and what advice do you have for younger journalists or writers? that was like my last question. Honestly, when it
Sure.
my last question over here, I wanted to ask, what was your advice to up and coming journalists, people that's in the that want to get into the media space? So this is a great question to ask.
Thank you, Bobo, for that question. And the difference is I'm telling my age. I'm a little bit older than you, Wayne, but just about 6 minutes, as I like 6, 7 minutes. I'm just trying to be older than you, okay? Because if I could go in and say that I'm younger than you, the people over there get confused the enemy. You know what I mean? Got to confuse the enemy. Um, the difference is back when I started in this industry, it was so much more difficult. Um, and Bobo, you've got it. I won't say easy, but it's certainly better than it was when I started. We had to come up with a tape, like a real tape, that we had to pay to get copied and then send your tape out to TV stations with resumes. And it was a lot. Whereas now you can just send a link and somebody can click the link and see it, or go to your website, or you can start your own thing on YouTube. And so that's kind of where I shift to now. Yeah, it was really different then. Somebody reminded me, my cousin Mariano's Custom Tailors. I love Mariano. He's my big cousin. And he was telling somebody, he remembers a story when my career started on the radio. I was on, well, actually, it started before that. It was kind of on, it was radio and newspaper. So I was a part of creating a new section. I don't know if you knew this or not, Wayne, but remember the TU rap?
Yep.
So I was with some other young people that created that. So my after school job while I was there at Reball was writing for the Times Union. That
Mm.
was like the local paper. And I was also on the radio at the time, 92.7 The Beat. But the way I got my full-time job in radio, I would call the radio station every day. I would call, and my cousin reminded someone of that recently. I would literally call the station every day. And they were finally sick of me, and it was like, okay, let the little boy come in. Lord have mercy, he ain't got no life, Really. And so that's how I kind of got started on the radio. Um, but it was the persistence, which was crazy to me because I would hear my students now when I was teaching full time saying, "Oh, I don't want to be thirsty." Like, what does that even mean? Like, you should be thirsty. Thirsty is not a bad thing. Thirsty is good. Be thirsty. Be open. Be energetic and enterprising and zealous and wanting to find new opportunities. I can dial back passion. It's so much easier to dial passion back than to dial it up.
Mhm.
And so it was a challenge to get in the door, to send out tapes after I got my first radio job and send out air checks, or try to get the resume as to what they needed, learning AP style writing. All of those things you now have at the touch of a button. So
Mhm.
use it. You
Yeah.
want to be a writer? Then write. You want to be a ranker reporter? I showed my students how to turn packages on their phones, right? All of my students who were my students at Edward Waters and at FAMU, when I taught there, have all become world-class journalists. All of the students I know are anchors, reporters, producers, media leaders who have done some wonderful things in the media space. And so I say do it. That's how you do it. I remember Melba Moore. I think it was Melba Moore. I was doing a show with Melba Moore some years ago, and I was telling her, Melba Moore was, Tony Award winning Grammy Award winning singer from New York, and Miss Moore and I were doing this show, and I was the young performer, and I was a little frustrated because I wasn't getting the roles that I felt I deserved. Right? I remember they were putting me in roles because I was Black. And I told my agent and my manager at the time, I don't want to play Black roles. I'm a Black actor. My Blackness is going to inform whatever I do. I can't change that.
Mhm.
But why do I have to be the Black this? Why can't I just play the doctor or the lawyer or the president or whatever? And I think that was at that time, but we see now that's changed. But the beauty of me understanding and saying that, it opened up a possibility because what Miss Moore said to me was, well, if it's not there, create it.
Mhm.
And we can do that now in a way that we haven't before. This platform, who gonna put a 6 foot dark skinned Black man with locks and a beard talking about you finna host a show, right? Who gonna do that? Who? Where they at? But you know what? You don't have to go and say who, because now you can do it yourself. And right now, we have people watching you. We have people learning from this experience. So
Right.
we're at a time unlike any other time on this planet. The question is, are we going to use it or not? So, Bobo, I invite you. You want to be a writer? Write, send it out. You want to be a creator? Create. And it's kind of, and again, like I told you, I read a lot. There's this book that I absolutely love. It's back there somewhere. It's called The Alchemist. And I read The Alchemist a couple times a year. It's a short read, but it's a powerful read. And I learn something different every time I read it. And it says, when you believe in something with the fullness of your entire heart, the universe will aspire and conspire to make it happen. And so that's what I do. When I believe in the unbelievable thing, if I have the confidence to try it, boom, there it is.
Right. Love it. Love it. Love it. Okay. Well, we getting into this wrap up action. I have a fun question for you, and then after that, you're going to give us an announcement that we want to hear.
Sure.
First off, I want to say thank you to everybody that's tuned in. We have the questions locked down, so I'm gonna make sure that Rodman gets to them and answers them, in a diligent time or whatnot. But I
Yes.
definitely appreciate everybody sharing this and enjoying it. I've had some messages on my end personally, just saying like this is a great conversation. Um, they were saying we need to have more of these. So we're working on that. We're working on that. At due time, we're going to work on this. So, but in the meantime, please make sure you're following NABJ on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube so you can stay intact with everything that we got going on. All right. So, um, man, oh, hold on. Miss Mills, awesome interview. I have the privilege of working with Dr. Johnson.
Miss Mills, who is a brilliant woman in her own right, is the chief of staff for Councilwoman Jacoby Pittman. I
Okay.
didn't know she was watching, but thank you. She is such a cool chick. And fun fact, you know Nod Ross, the comedian?
Yeah.
That's Nod Ross' mama.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yes. And so if you think Nod Ross is funny, which Nod Ross is brilliantly amazing, right? I go by Nod's page and watch his skits. That's my guilty pleasure between Chameleon and Nod Ross and Lil Duval, of course. I know, and of course, we know Roland from way back. But knowing this wonderful talent and enriching community that comes from us. But Nod is so funny.
Yeah.
You got to see Nod Mama. You think Nod Ross is funny? Boy, Nod Mama will take you there. So thank you, Miss Mills. I appreciate you. It is the honor of my life working with you and Councilwoman Pittman and Councilman Gaffney and Peluso and all of the members of the council. Like, we have a great rapport. We may not all agree. We may not all talk the same language, but at the end of the day, I truly believe that we all are focused on making Jacksonville better and moving Duval forward one action at a time.
Indeed, indeed. Yeah, y'all are a cool group of people.
We're unique. I will say we are unique because somebody I was talking to the other day, they were like, one day you got on African, and let me tell you, this is the and I don't mean to make light of mental illness. I will never do that. I'm always a proponent of therapy, but I think we have to find ways to have fun and
Right.
make fun in this space. So I'm not. This is not in any way. And if I'm gonna preface it by saying I'm not trying to mess with anybody, and I apologize if this is offensive. But I had my bipolar day a couple months ago. I was doing events, and I was real bipolar. So I started off at and I sometimes I drive a truck. So my team was with me, and I had outfits for the different places I need to go in the truck. And it started off in like an afternoon kind of shorts event with some sneakers. And then that transitioned over to the rodeo. Obviously, my district is kind of rural. So I had on a cowboy hat and cowboy boots and a cowboy shirt and cowboy jeans. And I went to the rodeo. And then my last event of the evening was what's called a bimbe, or an African party, a Nigerian party for my friend Bandeli. So I had on a full agbada. And somebody was like, yeah, you are the definition of bipolar. Because didn't I see you earlier? You had on something else. So I went from casual outfit in the afternoon, having a party, to the rodeo, to an African party at night. And you know what? I'm cool with it. And then I was at the Diwali Association, the Diwali celebration with the Indian community and the Indian Association of Jacksonville. And I wore a kurta. or a sherwani. And I this is not something I went out and bought for this event. That's in my closet. And I'm so grateful to have grown up with a mom and dad and grandmother and aunts and uncles and family members. And I call everybody aunts and uncles because my mom was the only child, as was I. So I got a lot of extended aunts and uncles.
Uh-huh.
But I'll tell you, man, we America is, and I'll say this, and I want to get to the fun questions. But America is this wonderful place. Quite often we consider, and I was on a show the other day, and the gentleman talked about America being a melting pot, and I said, no, 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 because if a melting pot fondue, I don't care what cheeses I put into fondue, and I mix it all up, it's gonna taste the same. Am I right or wrong?
All right.
Think about it. If I put cheddar and Munster and Swiss and Havarti and all these other cheeses into the fondue pot and mix it up, it may have a unique flavor, but every time I dip in that pot, it's going to be the same taste. I don't look at America as a melting pot. I look at this experience and this country and this space as a salad bowl. Why? Because salads have all the unique ingredients that keep their own integrity. You may like fruit in your salad. You may want strawberries and peaches. I may want walnuts and blueberries. At the end of the day, it's still a salad. And every forkful that I put in my mouth will have a different, unique flavor. And each of those flavors maintains its own integrity. Still a salad, but it doesn't take away from the tartness of the blueberry or the savoriness of some other thing that I may put in there, the herbs that I may sprinkle on my salad. Still a salad. And so I look at our country like that. We have these wonderful ingredients that we can sprinkle throughout this great salad, and each of those ingredients maintains its integrity, which is why you can look in my closet and find a kilt, and look in my closet and find a kurta or a sherwani, or look in my closet and find an agbada or see jewelry that I usually wear that comes from Nigeria or Egypt or Ghana or any of the places that I've been. So I tell you that the beauty of at least my experience of this is that we can truly be a part of the world, and that's what we should be, right? Where we're in this city, I don't just represent Black people or Indian Americans or Native Americans or Asian Americans. I represent people. And if we can see that and appreciate the beauty and individuality of each of the people, then we can really get the job done.
Love it. Absolutely love it. All right. Well, listen, I appreciate you, sir. This has been great. I
Yeah.
feel like not even feel like I know it's got to be a round two at some point. We will orchestrate that. All right, so I have one fun question to ask.
Let's go.
This is kind of in relation. One of your favorite, one of, or if your favorite artist is Philo, correct?
Fela Ransamkuti, eh? So Fela is undeniable. I love Fela. When I went to see the musical, Fela is a Nigerian artist. I actually went to the shrine in Nigeria where he performed. I never met Fela, but his son Femi Kuti,
Which he
again
just
from
released
Nigeria.
that album.
Absolutely, and
Yeah,
I love the Kuti family, or Ransom Kuti. But Fela, yeah, one of my favorite artists. Yeah.
yeah, man. You know what? I'm
And
reading
thank
this,
you
and I'm
for you hit me with it too. When you did the post about this, you hit with some Fela. I was like, he did that. You did. You
come
maybe
on,
you was paying
man.
attention.
Come on, man. I
Yeah,
have to make
yeah.
sure that my brothers represented well. You know what I'm saying? They had the
Yeah.
music and the soundtrack behind them.
And it Fela, man, when I tell you, and I sing the songs like International Thief Thief or No Water, No Enemy, and listening. And Fela was a brilliant artist who would be on stage like Prince. You know how Prince would be on stage and rock for like 3 hours?
Yeah,
Fela would be on stage like that and just rock for hours and hours on end with his saxophone and singing and the girls and everything. And most of his singing was political.
yeah.
It was about challenging the status quo, being better, creating a better Nigeria, and in such creating a better world. So yeah, I'm devoted to. Although I don't know whether you know this, fun fact: Fela is probably one of, in my mind, the greatest artists of all time. But it's second, and you probably didn't know this, to what I consider the greatest song ever written, which is probably by my favorite artist of all time. And you know, Fela is my favorite, but there's like favorite. It's John Coltrane.
Okay.
Did you know that?
No, it did not.
So you remember I played sax in the band when we were in the
Yeah.
band,
Mhm.
and of course I went to a black high school, so I played saxophone. And you know how they were? They were like, we need another trombone. We need some more brass." I'd never touched brass in my life, right? Do not know how. Everybody knows when I was at Highlands Junior High and when I was at Wolfson before I got to Reebok, all the schools I always played saxophone, right? And in concert band, symphonic band, I played bari sax in jazz band. I played the bassoon in symphonic band. Again, all woodwind instruments. And I played the tenor sax. I marched with the tenor sax, right?
Yeah.
All woodwind instruments. And then I get the Reebok, and it was like, "Nah, you got big lips. You gonna play the you
You
gonna play the
you gonna play the
a
trombone,
trombone."
yep.
And but what did I do, Wayne? Played the
Killed it.
trombone.
Killed it.
I learned the trombone in the summer. Now I wouldn't try that again, but I God rest his soul. I appreciate Mr. Bugs for giving me that opportunity. Um, but I tell you that as someone who is who is also a musician, right? I'm not like a musician like that. I ain't no Wayne Peterson. You know what I'm saying? I ain't that, you
Ah,
know.
stop it.
but but I'll tell you just, man, having that experience, a lot of those things in life, man, just open you up to great opportunities.
Yeah.
And that's what it's about, being open to the opportunities that life presents. Right? Right? So yeah. And Reebok, I will say formative years, formative days. I think about my time at Reebok every day. My class, we had a Christmas party, class of '94, and we all got together over at the space in San Marco, man. It just, and because, and you went to ball, or in the words of Dr. Greg Bostic, Ribeiro.
Rebo, yeah.
um,
Jean Rebo,
Jean Ribeiro, which is the correct pronunciation, but
for
the
sure.
third tempo one went dry with Reebok. And Reebok and Reigns were connected in a way that I can't even describe. And so those are still my brothers and sisters. And so all of our classes got together. We were all together for our Christmas party. All of us are about to turn 50 or are 50. Um, I know Bobby Jones, Robert Jones was one of my classmates at Highlands. He was at Reigns. His son ended up being in my class at Edward Waters as a student, which was crazy. Um, so we just are all connected, and the beauty of it is, like, the 30 plus years later, the love remains. When I see Johnny Giles Jr., I
Yeah.
mean, that's my brother.
That's the
I don't
guy
care.
right there, yeah.
Oh my goodness. I mean, and we genuinely love each other. One of our classmates at Reebok, even, I think most of his family had died, and he left, if I remember the story correctly, and I forget, he was very quiet in school, but our class was so connected, man. He left his insurance policy to our class, and we buried him.
Right.
Right? That's like in our class, man. You call on them, they are there. Like, my mother died. As I told you, I'm an only child, right? And my mother was an only child, and I have distant family, but it's just me, man. And I sometimes I look at it, mom and dad are now passed away, grandmother, all my made, family, whatever. When I tell you my class put it out, hey, Rockman's mama died. Come on. Or they'll text in our little group chat, hey, we need to go over here. This person's mom or dad passed away. We're gonna cook food. We're gonna take a bush or a plant or whatever. Um, we do that. And it's just like with Reigns. My mother graduated in the 1960s from Reigns.
Mhm.
And I told you she was an only child. Her whole class that were living and physically able showed up at her funeral.
Wow.
Not just to say that's our sister, but to rally around me. People that you don't even know. Cleve Warren, Cleve and Pat Warren.
Yep.
Cleve, your frat brother. I think Cleve is in Cleve Alpha. I'm not sure, but I know Cleve and Pat Warren both went to school with my mom, graduated with her. That's auntie and uncle, right?
Mm.
And they don't have to be public about it. I can pick up the phone and call and say, I'm having this issue, or talk me through this. It's something about going to Reigns and Reebok, man. Our lineage and legacy is so, nothing against Sandalwood and Inglewood and all the other schools. But back in the day, like from, I'm thinking late 90s on back, Reigns and Reebok, it was like one school.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, all right, you got a fun question. What's up?
Well, You kind of answered it a little bit, but I'm gonna ask it again. So, well, I'm gonna ask it. So, if
Oh, and
it,
John Coltrane. I'm sorry, and I didn't. I hope put a pin in that. John Coltrane. Name of the song. I want you. If you don't know the song, Wayne, go listen to it. I'm gonna post it when we get off of this.
okay,
Um, it is the most amazing song that I've ever heard in my life.
wow,
It's called "A Love Supreme."
a love supreme, yeah,
I'm gonna just hold on, let you hear it. "A Love Supreme." Okay, John Coltrane. He plays his saxophone, and you know the song. You don't know you know it. You know when Erica Badu says Badu, do Badu. You know when she's saying Badu, 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 Badu. She literally says it and samples "A Love Supreme" in her stuff. "A Love Supreme" was a song written by John Coltrane, and during the song, as he plays his fusion jazz, he literally just starts to say, "A love supreme, a love supreme, a
mm,
love supreme." Boom, 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 boom. That's the bass line you hear, right?
mm-hmm,
What he has done is mimicked the circadian rhythm, the beat of the heart. He
mm,
took the beat of the heart and said that the beat of the heart is a love supreme because the heartbeat was God's love for us. So creating the beat created life, which was the ultimate love. And the beating of the heart is our love back to God for allowing us the beauty of having life. That's why I said it's the most amazing song ever written. Listen to it. But it's "A Love Supreme," John Coltrane, life changing. Love Fela, devoted to Fela. But John Coltrane was a game changer. Yeah, yeah.
right. So I'm going to answer the question for you as I'm and you can add on, take out for whatnot. But the
Go for it.
question is, if you were musically inclined, which you are, who would you want to have a private jam session with? So with that, I would say Fela, I would say John Coltrane, and I would throw Prince in
You better say, you better
there.
call it. You better say, because that's what I was saying, Prince. And I've had the ability to hang out with Prince before. And I know that sounds crazy, but I've been to Paisley Park. Um, I spent time with Prince here when I was, as you know, I was a radio guy. I spent some time with Prince here when he did a show here. And ironically, my mother had a relationship with Prince. Not that kind of relationship. Prince is not my daddy. Because Prince kind of, but my mom knew Prince well. And Prince was one of the few people, and I wish I had those tapes still, that allowed my mom to interview him. My mom was a radio personality on, at the time, WZAZ, Zaz 140. Used to be Zaz 1400 here in Jacksonville. Hey, Mark Little, Jack Mercy, Bellboy, Willie Martin, Captain Groovy, Captain Corpuscle, all the crew from back in the day. Funky Finley, I can call the names. Nathaniel Soulfinger, Cooking Jackson. But mom did a segment that went national called Entertainment News. And so she would interview a lot of celebrities, and Prince was one of them. And I didn't realize that I was growing up with royalty, having a chance to, until I met Prince later in life, right? And had a chance to spend some time with him. Such an enigmatic brother. Um, but that was the jam session. Yeah, what I want, absolutely Prince. Obviously Coltrane and Prince are gone, and Fela. So I think you'd have to divide that into two categories. Who would I jam with then and who would I jam with now? Of course, those are the ones that have passed on. But brother, I would love, and I sing. Obviously, I've been off Broadway. I rap. I still got some verses in me still. But man, I would love to jam with Badu.
Okay.
Badu and Duran Bernard.
Oh
Like
man.
Duran is ridiculous. Um, Duran Bernard, Brother Kamal, Badu is number one, of course. Um, oh, Robert Glasper.
Yeah. Yeah, he would be.
Brother, I just knew I was gonna make a project with Glasper and Casey Benjamin. And do you remember Casey Benjamin?
Yep.
When Casey died, I just knew, I was like, oh, okay, it'll be a matter of time. I'm gonna do a project and I'm gonna end up with Glasper on the project, and Casey is gonna back it up. And when Casey died, I was devastated because I was just Casey is so kind of like a Bird and a Miles and he was so beyond his time, right? And so that's how I feel about them. So those are some of the ones that I would love to work with because I think music is about experimentation, right? And I love to, as an artist, as someone who sings and composes and acts and dances. I don't know if I can dance like I used to, but um a renaissance, I don't want to say I am a renaissance man, but as I look at it, you know, one of the people, if you come to my office, I had this mural in my home in one of the rooms in here, but it's in my office. And if you go to my office, you'll see a mural of Paul Robeson hanging in my office. And I look at it every day. And I think my office, everything, when you come to my office, it's kind of, unique because it's very intentional. Everything in my office is not like a lot of awards. There are some awards and stuff, but it's really intentional because everything in my office means something. There's some meaning of the pictures that are there, the people that are in the pictures, um, the art that's there. All of it has meaning. And one of the pieces that means the most to me that I bought years ago was a mural of Paul Robeson. And I bought it because Paul Robeson was the ultimate to me. This man was unapologetically Black and beautiful and big and he took up space. And I mean that when he walked into the room, he didn't shy away at a time when Black excellence was not a thing to be thought of. And
Right.
especially a darker skinned Black person at that time, please. And his voice was booming and he sang roles that they said that he sang operatic roles and played Shakespearean roles, and then he was a football player at an Ivy League school,
Mm.
and then got a law degree, and then was an actor. So I remember, man, I hear people all the time saying you can't do it all. Paul Robeson proved that you can. He was a Renaissance man. You
Sure.
can't do it all at the same time. But my brother, most certainly, you can do it all.
Love it. I love it. And you're definitely a Renaissance man. Good sir.
I appreciate it, man.
Yes,
Appreciate it. Looking
sir.
forward to sharing that next book with you, sharing my next book of poetry. Dude, it was so funny when think I called you first. I mean, like we are really close friends, and I appreciate our friendship. Um, I called you when the American Library Association reached out to me to tell me that I won Book of the Year,
Yeah.
and I was like, they lying. Stop playing. That's because I'm like, who man, somebody joking. That was my thought. Because I never wrote a poem. And as you know, I write poems all the time.
Right.
I never wrote with the intention of being published. I never wrote with the intention of someone else seeing it. And I certainly never wrote with the intention of being given an award.
Right.
Right. So
Right.
now I'm in this space of, well, that's why it's taken me so long for my next book because I guess there's somewhat of a trepidation because it's like, well, I want to do my best, but it takes me back doing my best. So now I'm taking my time. It'll happen when it's supposed to happen at the appointed time. So,
Right.
and before I go out, I got to say shout out to our team at the Jacksonville City Council, Rashonda Jackson, who is chief of staff to Councilman Gaffney, Jerry Ford Harden, chief of staff to Councilman Freeman, and most importantly, my chief of staff, Andrew Powers, who was my student at Edward Waters and is now handles my stuff in my office. I can't thank you all enough because we all help each other to ensure that the people of Jacksonville are taken care of, in spite of sometimes we may not have all the time to spend with our families or do all the other things, but we're here for a short period of time to do this work. And so I'm so thankful for having such a great team to ensure that the work gets done to the best of our abilities.
Indeed, indeed. And shouts out to everybody else. Shouts out to Chase as well, man. Mr.
Yeah.
Powers doing the work. So all right, well, let the people know where they can find you at, and then after that, speak on the announcement that you would like to make.
This is the NABJ announcement, right?
JTA.
Oh, JTA. I got it. JTA and ABJ. Okay, well, I announced earlier. I think it was doing the African American award, African American during African American History Month celebration at City Hall. that we're putting some money toward NABJ and the great work that they're doing, that you're doing, and these community workshops. I plan to be an integral part of it, not politically, but socially, so that people are empowered through the press so they can find the prosperity. So thanks for agreeing to accept those funds and doing that work in the community.
Thank you, thank you,
You
thank you
can
for
find
the gesture for sure.
Absolutely. You can find me on the web at rahman.vote. That's RAHMAN.VOTE. That's all the political related, campaign related or any of that stuff website. You can also find me on Facebook, facebook.com/vote Rahman. That's vote, RAHMAN. And you can also find me on Instagram at Vote Rahman or on Twitter to hear my musings and craziness at just simply Rahman J. Because I will talk stuff on Twitter, on X, but you can find me there at Rahman J. Really happy to announce. So thanks for that. Look me up. You can also find me. Feel free to call me at the office, area code 904-255-5214. It's 904-255-5214. Or Rahman, my first name, Rahman at coj.net. Any of those ways, reach out. If it's something related to things in the district, I prefer email because that way I can track it and make sure that we can take care of you to the best of our ability. So this is a pretty powerful week for the city of Jacksonville. I sit on the board of JTA as the liaison from the Jacksonville City Council to the JTA, or Jacksonville Transportation Authority. This week, we just signed a contract with Holon, an international company that will come to Jacksonville, and they will put in a $300 million over a series of years, but it'll eventually be a $300 million investment in building autonomous vehicles right here in Jacksonville. On yesterday at the JTA board meeting, we authorized the CEO to sign that agreement to have those done. So that was an exciting moment for our city. These autonomous vehicles, some people like them, some people say they're bad or they don't know. Give it an opportunity, but it'll be another way that our city moves into the 21st century and beyond. So congratulations to JTA for that. And then on tomorrow, which is Thursday, I'll be opening the Autonomous Innovation Center. It's the Bay Street Innovation Corridor in downtown Jacksonville. But this Autonomous Innovation Center is where all of the autonomous vehicles will come from and run throughout the community. It's going to be an amazing event that happens tomorrow morning. We cut the ribbon and start. I say we're cutting the ribbon now, but this cutting of the ribbon catapults us to the forefront of not just autonomous vehicles in the United States, but on the future of transportation in the world. So we're honored to have Nat Ford leading this charge. Nat just testified earlier last week, I think it was, for in Congress for the Transportation Association of the United States, and so he's leading this charge, and we're going to see innovation and autonomous vehicles go bigger, better, more wonderful than we've ever seen them before. And I'm really excited to be a part of that in JTA. So thanks for letting me make that announcement. And I hope you'll join us tomorrow. It'll be live, jta.org, but it'll be live on that website and throughout the city of Jacksonville as we move forward into the future with autonomous vehicles. Thank you for that.
Love it, man. This is great news, and congratulations to you and everybody that's involved in the JTA excursions and all that great things, and everything else that you're doing around the city, man. We just honor you and appreciate all the work that you're doing for the community and just being this righteous guy, and just really standing in the trenches with the people, man, and just really being a great example of community. And all of the things that come with it. Thank you so very much, man.
Thank you. It's an honor. I look forward to joining you again and on those workshops. And I know my schedule's tight, but you say the word, I'm there.
Indeed. We'll work it out. So,
I love
and
you, brother.
yeah, stay tight. I'm gonna close out and we'll talk after this. But to my people, thank you so much for tuning into this beautiful conversation with Dr. Rahman Johnson, Councilman of District 14, Councilman of Jacksonville, Florida. But thank you so much for tuning in. And remember, please follow NABJ Northeast Florida. We will be having more of these, and we did say quarterly that we was going to have a in-person discussion where we have a panel and have that going on. So please be on the lookout for that. We have a couple of things that we got our hands in that we would announce those as time comes, but it would be some good stuff that's coming on for like the late spring, early summer action. We want to get the second quarter and the third quarter kind of bouncing. So please make sure you're following us on Instagram, Northeast Florida. On Instagram, it's NEFLNABJ. And then on Facebook and on YouTube, it's Northeast Florida NABJ. So please tell your friend, tell a friend, tell a friend, tell a friend. And if you're in the communications and media space and you would like to get involved with the community, please feel free to hit us up on the messages, sign up for our newsletters, see how you can get active with the community. We're building the community up strong. We would love to have you so we can make sure we have a very good, robust community of communicators and media professionals, specialists, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So, again, thank y'all so much. And in the good words of Wayne Peterson, yeah, to the top. Thank y'all so much. We are out of here.